guys, it's Adria, and for today's video I kind of wanted to do sort of an advice video, just kind of a chit chat video about something that was on my mind. I don't know, sometimes when I think of something and I'm just like, this is on my heart, I want to talk about it, so let's talk about it. Let's just have a little chit chat. I wanted to talk about hate, getting hate, thinking people hate you, hating other people, whatever it is, let's just talk about hate, okay? So I think first I will talk about thinking that other people hate you, because this is something I get asked about from you guys, saying, oh, people at school hate me, this person hates me, what do I do? Just today, I don't know, I kind of just had this epiphany of sorts. A lot of times when we think people hate us, it's sort of just us that thinks that. And because I don't know, I joke around a lot and say like, oh, this person hated me, like they hated my guts, I'm pretty sure they hated me, blah blah blah, you know, like in story times or like in rants or things talking about other people. I'm like, oh, I think they hate me. A lot of times I'm just joking around. I don't really feel like a lot of people hate me, and that's not even like I'm so great, there's nothing to hate about me. But when I think people hate me, when I sincerely know somebody and I'm like, I'm pretty sure they don't like me, a lot of times that's probably just me thinking that, unless they are literally like flipping me off and cursing me out and telling me that they hate me. They probably don't, because a lot of the times what we think about other people may not even be true. We have a lot of preconceived things about people. You know, you'll see somebody, you'll be around somebody on the daily, and just maybe the way they act or the way they look at you or just their vibe in general, you may get the feeling they dislike you, when a lot of times that could just be in your mind. Unless something crazy happened where you're like 100% sure they dislike you, a lot of times it's you thinking that. So this is why I think I've always kind of done this with, you know, thinking automatically people hate me without even really talking to them about it or knowing for sure if they hate me, is I think I'm just naturally defensive and I naturally just don't want people to like me, and that's weird. Like, I don't know, in my everyday life, I put up like this defense where I don't want people to get to know me, I don't want people to get close to me because I don't want them to hurt me or leave me or hate me, basically. So it's easier for me to be like, they hate me, rather than give them the chance to do otherwise. You know what I mean? That took a lot of self-reflection to realize that, is that, you know, that was a fault on my end, thinking people hate me, because that's a hard thing to have to live with, especially if that's somebody like at your job or at school or in your own family. If you walk around thinking somebody hates you, that's hard to live with. So what do? Sometimes the best thing to do is to just confront it. Just be like, hey, I don't know what's going on, but just kind of a general feeling I'm getting. I kind of get the feeling maybe you don't like me all that much. Did I do something? Did I say something? What is it? Is this all in my mind? I don't know. Because I had an instance where a girl reached out to me for advice. This was a girl, I think, that went to high school with me or something, and just kind of wanted my advice about a mutual friend of ours. You know, we were just talking back and forth on Facebook, and she was like, oh, you're not as bitchy as people say you are. I'm just like, wait, what? Wait, what? I don't know, sometimes people get a preconceived idea that I am a certain way when really I'm not. I don't know, I feel like I'm often misunderstood, and I do blame a lot of that on myself. I realize that. I know in public I can come across as judgmental, bitchy, rude. I've heard like all of those, just because I am more reserved, I'm more quiet. I know that's probably hard for you guys to believe. This is where I kind of let loose and just have my fun and talk, and then, you know, after I turn the camera off, I'm done. But no, I am more reserved in public situations, but you know, when I'm with people I know and familiar with and know I can be myself with, I'm like this. So I do think that people do get the wrong idea from me sometimes, and that's something that I want to change. I don't want people to think I'm unapproachable or not likable, or that I don't like them, or that I hate them, because sometimes I think the same about them. And it's kind of this vicious cycle where if nobody says anything, you kind of just both think you hate each other, when that's not really the case. Because the person you may think hates you, they may think the same thing back, like, oh, they probably don't like me. So, you know, if you kind of just approach it and be like, hey, what's up? I don't have any ill feeling toward you. They might be like, oh, I kind of thought you didn't like me. And I've seen that happen so many times. And people have become friends through that. Because I know I joke around a lot, like, oh, this person totally hated me, like they hated me. But really, they probably didn't. That was probably just me, you know, kind of being more closed off and not letting them not hate me, if that makes sense. Cause I don't know, I do this thing where I get in my mind and I convince myself that, oh, this person doesn't like me, they don't want anything to do with me, they haven't talked to me, they don't care about me, they don't care how I am, they don't like me, whatever, and my mind just runs in circles with thoughts like that, when in reality, the other person isn't thinking anything like that. If I went up to somebody that I thought hated me and was like, do you hate me? They'd probably be like, wait, what? Excuse me? And I feel like 9 times out of 10, that's usually the case. I don't know, sometimes I would think my sisters were mad at me and I'd go up to them, I'd be like, are you guys mad at me? And they'd be like, what? No! If it's a situation like that and the person means enough to you for you to ask, then I would definitely do that. Or if you have to see them daily and it's kind of bugging you and you feel tension, I would definitely try to resolve that. They don't have to be your best friend, but nobody likes tension. So, you know, even though I do joke like, you know, they hate me, everybody hates me, blah blah blah. It's mostly a joke, I kind of just do that to be funny, but in reality, I don't think there's a whole lot of people that hate me except for people on my videos, wow, you're annoying, get off of YouTube, what's wrong with your face? But that brings me to internet hate and why it doesn't really matter. Here is the thing that I realized the other day, and this just occurred to me. It came to me, okay? This has probably been said before, but when I first upload a video, the majority of comments, I would say like 95% of them are all positive. They're all, you know, my subscribers. They're people that want to watch my videos. They're people that like me and take interest in me and are like, oh, Adria, yay, video. But after a video's been up for a while, that gives other people the chance to find it. Once a video starts getting a little bit of hate or criticism or comments that are not so positive, it's kind of a good thing, you know, because that means that there's other people seeing your videos. And I know that it's not all about views, but at the same time, because, you know, my more viewed videos on my channel do get hate comments on them and do get, like, who is this? Why is she so loud? Why are her fingers so red? You know, like, they get all of that. And that's when I look at them and I'm like, girl, I made it though. That's kind of how I like to look at it, because if a video has only positivity on it, that video is only reaching subscribers. That video is only staying within my channel's box, if you get what I mean. So once you start getting the little tiny bits of negativity, that's like people seeping in from outside of your box, and in a way that's good. There's pros and cons to it, because, you know, there are people that just come to be trolls and then they leave. But I do have to say though, if you do YouTube or anything like that, once you start getting hate, that's when you know your channel's growing. And I can honestly say, I don't know how this turned into YouTube advice, but it's true. Like, once you start getting negative comments from people you may not recognize, or strangers and things like that, or maybe it's like on Instagram, you know, you're growing a little bit, because you're not just reaching your immediate circle of friends, you're reaching other people. It's kind of good. Negativity still sucks all around. And something else about people being mean to me or things like that, I don't know, one time Brandon and I were at Wendy's, not too long ago. We're at Wendy's though, and the cashier, she was very blunt, very meh, very kind of just not charismatic, not interested, not, you know, polite or anything. And Brandon was like, oh, she was so rude, blah blah blah. And I'm just like, I kind of give people the benefit of the doubt, where I'm like, maybe she's having a bad day, maybe something happened, it's a Sunday afternoon and she's working in Wendy's, you know. I kind of like to look at things from that perspective. If you have an encounter with somebody and they don't treat you all that nice, I kind of like to consider the source of that. Like, why might they be acting this way? That's the same with hate comments. You know, them being rude to me isn't a reflection of me, that's a reflection on them. Everybody says things out of anger and out of frustration and out of stress that they do not mean, okay? If you've ever gotten in a fight with like your boyfriend or your mom or a sibling or a friend, chances are you've probably said something you've regretted and you've been like, oh my gosh, why did I say that? We all say things that we don't mean, and we all show attitudes and moments of ourselves that we just don't like, that we're like, oh, that's embarrassing. So that's why I don't like to make an assumption about somebody from one encounter with them, you know? Like, say you met a celebrity or something and they weren't super friendly and super bubbly and super happy to see you, I wouldn't make an assumption that that celebrity is a bad person just off of that one encounter, because, you know, everybody has moments like that. So I think all around, with whether you think somebody hates you or somebody does hate you or somebody leaves a nasty comment or says something mean to you, I think there's a lot to consider with things. If somebody thinks I hate them, I want to be like, what did I do to make them think that? What can I correct? Work on being more approachable, work on opening up more. Or if I think somebody hates me, I should be like, you know, maybe I should work on communicating with that person better. What have you, whatever the case is. I just always like to dig a little deeper with stuff, you know, and not, you know, oh, somebody says something rude to me, they hate me. But if the person is important to you, it's important to forgive and learn to correct things. But also, if somebody is just toxic and negative, I've said this a million times, but you know, it doesn't hurt to kind of cut people out and move on and be like, okay, you're not a good fit for me, so bye. Just like you would with a boyfriend or a girlfriend. I can't do this, sorry. It's important to kind of guard yourself and not let yourself be hurt for the sake of not hurting somebody else's feelings. I don't know, it does just kind of hurt to think like, oh, I thought that that person hated me. Because I've had that, you know, there have been people in my real life where I thought that they just disliked me. When here, that was just in my mind. But that's my stress and my anxiety and depression telling me, oh, that person doesn't like you. They don't like you because of this. Your mind likes to mess with you sometimes and make you believe things that aren't true. And when I've learned that people have thought things about me that aren't true, you know, whether that be like rumors or just people saying like, oh, you're not as bitchy as people say you are. It's like where that kind of hurts my feelings. I'm also like, you know, maybe I need to work on that. Maybe I need to, you know, make myself come across as more approachable and more, you know, not what people think. So I don't know. And then at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what people think because I know the truth and blah, blah, you know, that whole spiel. But it is important to not let people get a preconceived idea of who you are without them getting to know you, because I feel like a lot of times I don't want to say ruined, but sort of not had the best relationships with people because of me kind of closing myself off and not letting them get to know me, and almost like I want them to hate me first so that, you know, down the road we don't have a falling out or they don't explode on me or hate me later, because, you know, when stuff happens a lot, you kind of put a guard up and you don't want it to happen again. I don't know, there's a whole lot of thoughts. I can ramble about this all day, but at the end of the day, if you think somebody hates you, approach them about it. If you feel like you can, ask them, especially if it's like your friend or, you know, your significant other. If you think somebody's mad at you or doesn't like you, I would definitely ask them. Or if it's like, you know, a classmate or a coworker or a neighbor or somebody, if you think they dislike you, you know, just approach them in a kind way. And I think the best way to go about that is to not say, well, you, and kind of make it more about yourself. Like, I feel, I think, I'm afraid, you know, things like that, rather than being like, well, you don't like me, you do this, you come across this way, because then they'll be like, girl, what the heck, I didn't ask for this. But yeah, I don't know, that's kind of my thoughts for the day. I'm pretty sure my neighbor probably thinks I hate him because he'll wave to me and then I'll just kind of be like, ugh. And, you know, I don't want to be perceived that way. I don't want people to think that I'm a way that I'm not, because I don't think I'm a rude person, and I try not to be, and it's just like sometimes I'm like, you know, at the end of the day, I really don't think a whole lot of people hate me, but maybe you hate me watching this, I don't know. Chances are the people you think hate you probably don't, and you know, when I'm like, oh, everyone hates me, it's really just a joke. So let me know your thoughts on this down in the comments below. Did you ever think somebody hated you when really they didn't? Maybe you thought somebody hated you and you never found out if they did or not, and you're kind of like curious to this day if they ever did. You know, how do you deal with hate comments? How do you deal with people in real life if they give you some crap in public, like me and Brandon at Wendy's? How do you deal with it? Let me know. Yeah, but I think we all just need to learn to be a bit more open to things and listen to people, not to respond to them, but listen to people to learn something, you know? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. I post videos 3 times a week, and I definitely want to do more advice kind of videos like this. A lot of you guys ask me about things. I know I'm not an expert or anything, but I do like to give my little big sister advice wherever I can. And thank you guys so much for 132,000 subscribers. Like, we should have our own panda city. Girl, I'm gonna get on that. How do I buy some land? Yeah, you can follow all my social media. All of that is linked down below as well. I will see you guys again real soon. Until then, panda hugs. I love you guys.